and welcome in everyone to the Week 10 episode of Craze's Corner. We got a lot of stuff to get into, some big news dropped today, so we're going to get into that right now. And then later on, we're going to get into some trade for and trade away targets. Everyone's trade deadline is coming up in fantasy football, whether it's going to be this upcoming week, so you got to make your trades now. Or in the next coming weeks. So we're going to talk about that and break that all down for you guys. But let's start off with OBJ to the Rams. Odell was deciding between the Packers and the Rams, but from what I was hearing, the Packers kind of threw out the offer and said, if you want to come, you can come, whereas the Rams were doing the recruiting. Fantasy implications for this, I think Cooper Kupp stays the same. I think Robert Woods drops a little bit, and I think Odell goes up from what he was in Cleveland, but I'm not expecting anything huge. Second story, we have the Browns who are making 2 extensions after the release of OBJ. They extended Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio. I think this is great for their offense. It's great for Chubb and Hunt. They have these guys both locked up for, I think it was 3 and 4 year extensions. So it's great for them to secure their offensive line, which is really the cornerstone of their team right now. And the third story, and in fact my most important story of the day, the Panthers have re-signed Cam Newton on a 1-year deal up to $10 million with $4.5 million guaranteed for the rest of the season. As a Panthers fan, I'm super excited to have Cam back in Carolina. I was rooting for him in New England, and I thought he was going to do good this season, and now I think he has the chance to redeem himself. He's got more weapons than he's ever had, as well as a great defense. So for me, I think he's in the perfect situation to succeed. I don't expect him to play this week because he'll only have 2 days worth of practice if he gets to practice tomorrow. But going forward, I think he makes the Panthers a contender for that 6th or 7th seed in the NFC. Right now, it's currently held by the Saints and the Falcons, but the Saints have lost their quarterback and the Falcons are absolutely garbage. So I think the Panthers can fight for that spot. But what do you guys think about the Cam Newton extension or the Cam Newton signing? Do you think that the Panthers are going to be able to contend? Let us know using the media app. It's a virtual press conferencing app that I use all the time for my daily account on Instagram. I use it for fantasy football purposes. It's really a versatile app, and there will be a new version dropping soon, so make sure you guys are stay tuned for that. You can check it out on the App Store and Google Play. And now let's welcome in our guests. We have Will and Jeff. Welcome on, guys. Let's get your thoughts on the Cam Newton situation. I'll start with you, Jeff, because I know before the season you were hyping up Cam Newton just as much as me. So you excited to see him get another chance?
I am excited to see him get another chance, and I'm really excited that he's going back to the Panthers. I'm just like, wow, this is a 360-degree coming full circle, whatever you want to call it, man. And I think they're going to get a healthy, hungry Cam, which could be a great thing for the Panthers. Now, if he comes back accurate, that would even be better. Mm-hmm. That's the thing.
Yeah, we'll see. What do you think, Will?
Who said you can't go home again, right? You can always go home. That's what makes it home. You can always go back home. And, man, for Cam, that's great. Not only is it a great deal for him to be able to find another landing spot this season, right? But to get compensated where he was at. I am so glad that he didn't take like the league minimum or some crappy deal like that. I mean, Cam Newton is one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game right now. Hall of Fame, I don't know what will happen. But he is one of the greatest athletes to play the game, one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game. He's a game changer. And I'm just glad he got to go home, and I'm glad he got compensated for what his value is. He's still underpaid, but what, $10 million? Yeah. Great for him. Way to go, Cam.
Yeah, I got Cam right here. He's going to do great this season. Just watch out when the Panthers make the playoffs. But let's get into some trade targets. We're going to first talk about players we are trying to trade for. I'm going to start us off here, and I'm actually going to talk about Chris Carson for the Seattle Seahawks. He's supposed to be coming back from injury, whether it's this week or next week. Obviously, Russell Wilson is back, which is big for all of the Seattle Seahawks. And he's going to see a majority of the work. Alex Collins has been all right in his relief, but once Chris Carson comes back, I'm expecting him to be a high end RB2, low end RB1, and I think you can get him for not too much. He's already passed his bye as well, and then his Week 13 to Week 17 stretch, they play San Francisco, Houston, the Rams, Chicago, and Detroit, which are all bad against the run. So he could be eating away at the defenses, which is something I'm also looking forward to with him. Let's go to Jeff here, our resident Seahawks fan. You think Carson is going to come back and do well?
I hope so. I really do. I think it's the perfect time with Russell coming back as well. So if they can just get everybody, back kind of healthy, I'm just really afraid of him just being as fragile as he is. That's why I was a little bit kind of taken aback when they decided to pay him that much in the offseason instead of going after somebody else. But, when he's on the field and he's durable, man, he's going to get some yards. So I actually think it's a good pickup. I bet you there are a lot of people looking to try to get rid of him right now. So
yeah, and I think he'll be on some teams that have like a lower record, so they need guys who can come out and contribute this week to get them a win to put them back into playoff contention. What do you think about Chris Carson, Will?
Yeah, I'm kind of high on the Seahawks right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Russ is going to be on a mission, and I think when Russ is on a mission, everybody looks good around him. And I'm actually looking forward to this game this weekend. This could be the sleeper game of the year because you got Aaron Rodgers and
coming back,
and you got Russ coming back, and it's just going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to watching it. Let me put it that way. That's going to be. I'm excited about.
I think the Seahawks pull off the upset.
Is it an upset though?
It is an upset. The Packers are favored right now, and majority of fans that I've seen, because I posted about me thinking that the Seahawks were going to win. Everyone's like, "Nah, the Packers are the best team in the NFL. They're the second best team in the NFL." And I think
I'd rather be Seattle where they're at with Russ coming back than. We all know that locker room in Green Bay is not cool right now.
Green Bay just botched the opportunity to get Odell. So,
exactly.
really...
Hey, everybody can thank Justin Jefferson for that. Because Jefferson, I don't know if you saw that today, Justin Jefferson talked to Odell, and he said, please, you can go anywhere, just don't go to the Packers.
Yeah, and the Packers weren't making a push for him, but speaking of Justin Jefferson, Will, let's transition right into your player.
I'm going to tell you right now, with the slow car wreck that is the Viking season, the only thing that can get Zimmer out of his offense is evil, defense wins games. I hate my kicker's mindset. Is his job on the line, and I'll be honest with you. If Kirk Cousins is auditioning for a new team next year, I'm going all out with Justin Jefferson if you can get him. Or I'll be honest with you, I would take Jefferson or Theilen right now if you can get him in a trade. Because I think you can get him low. People are probably frustrated, getting nervous. And if you can offer a mid-tier guy, they might take it. But I just think that Viking offense is going to open up. And now with the uncertainty about Cook, it could, Jefferson and Thielen could, get way more opportunities. But I expect this week to be a shootout. I don't know who's going to win. But if you have Chargers or Vikings on your team, you're starting them all. Because it's going to be 38-35, 42-38, something outrageous.
Yeah, I think if you can get Justin Jefferson, he could definitely be clutch when it comes down the line, especially with the whole Dalvin Cook situation that we're not going to comment on because no one actually knows what's going on with that. Yeah. But let's transition into Jeff's player. We're going to start off with Cordarelle Patterson for you, Jeff. I'll let you explain a little bit why you think Cordarelle Patterson's got to be.
Well, just the targets that he's getting both.
Yeah.
I would say carries and targets. This dude is now a hybrid guy. He is a running back. Mike Davis is done. You might, if you have him on your roster, you should have dropped him about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He's done. Patterson is the RB1 in that backfield, on that team. And he's also, to me, the wide receiver too. So
Mhm.
now with Ridley being gone, some of those targets, man, are going to Patterson. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have him in Yahoo, you are able to play him at wide receiver or running back, not
Same
Mhm.
with
just in a
sleeper.
flex.
Yeah, same
Yeah,
with
man.
sleeper.
So I'm just like, dude, it's just
Yeah.
a uh, great setup all the way around for that guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I after that second game, I started getting nervous as a guy that drafted Mike Davis. I was like, wait a minute, he's starting to get those
Mm-hmm.
touches again. I was like, is he going to be the same old Patterson that really gets these carries and these targets, but really doesn't do a whole lot with them? Then each week he just started going up and up and up, and I'm like, well, he's one of those guys that found a team that wants to get him the ball a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and often in different positions. So now, I mean, it's been very rare that he hasn't scored at least a touchdown in a game.
Yeah.
So you've got some guys that are, may not go ahead and really value him that high. But if you got him in Sleeper or in Yahoo, that could
Yeah.
be a huge value as far as being able to plug him into different spots like that, having the two designations.
Yeah, I've been a guy who's been a little hesitant on Cordell Patterson,
Mhm.
but he's only had 1 week under 13 points in half-point PPR leagues, and that was week 1 against Philly. So since then, he's been extremely involved in the offense, and I have kind of transitioned over to the fact where he's been on the field over 50% of the time within the past 4 weeks. So I am comfortable making a trade to get him as your running back 2, or possibly even your wide receiver 2, depending on what your
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Cordell Patterson? Will you feel kind of the same way?
Well, I think it's, Cordell, when he was with the Vikings and then kind of floated around the league, the Bears and all that, the biggest hang up on him was how he practiced. And it kind of reminds me of Allen Iverson. I don't think he had the same mindset as Allen Iverson. But I think what happens is you see with Atlanta now, you see a coaching staff, whether they meant to do it or not, it might have been an act of we need a running back. And let's put him at running back. Remember, he started as a running back before moving to wide receiver in college. And they put him out there and they started using him. And most importantly, you got a quarterback that believes in him. Because that throw last week down the sidelines, that was a quarterback that believed in the guy running the route. And he threw it to him. And, I just think, he might be the guy that could carry you to a fantasy championship. It could be your MVP
Yeah.
if you can get him, right? Now, I don't know about this matchup this week because I think Dallas has the linebackers with maybe the ability to hang with him, the young guys at linebacker. But I think when you look at the rest of that schedule, yeah, I mean, in the flexibility on your roster, wide receiver or running back, if you can get him, maybe he doesn't have a great week this week, and you can get him, people start to panic.
Yeah, for sure. Let's transition to mine. So for this next position, I picked a running back. Now I wanted to pick a wide receiver. I might have to. I got up. I don't know if you noticed. I might have to pull out the Seahawks jersey here because I really wanted to talk about Tyler Lockett, but I decided against it. I think you should trade for Tyler Lockett. Russ is back, but I'm not going to. I also wanted to really talk about Devonta Smith because he's coming off a big week, and I made it known I think he's going to be able to bounce back. The Eagles are going to get him more involved. But I'm also not going to talk about him. I'm going to talk about a wide receiver who's been outperforming everyone's standards, and I still think you can buy low on him, and that's going to be Deebo Samuel. He's been amazing. He's been great after the catch. I knew how great he was going to be after the catch, but the fantasy numbers he's been putting up, I think he's around the wide receiver 4 so far. And I still think you can buy him low. Because I don't think he's being valued as the wide receiver 4 right now. So if you're in a league, you don't own Deebo Samuel, I would check in on him because I think you can get him for a guy who would be like a running back 2 if he really needs running backs, a running back 2 and a bench wide receiver or something like that. I think there's pairings in some leagues where if they don't have the depth, you can trade some depth to get Deebo, and I think Deebo can be a guy that will definitely lead you to a championship because he's been outstanding so far this year. So that's going to be my second pick for a trade 4 player. Are you guys okay giving up significant capital for him? You confident that he's going to still continue to be consistent going forward?
I think he will be because of the fact that Ayuk is starting to play as well. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's, before you could probably double team Samuel because there was really nobody else there. Now that Shanahan has decided to lay off of Ayuk a little bit, seems like he's starting to come out of his shell and starting to actually come up with some pretty big catches. I think it's just going to uh, leave Deebo one-on-one with a lot of guys, man. And plus, they use him in a number of different ways anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I like him. I think you're right. Try to buy low on him, but I don't know if I'd give up a very, very significant amount for him. Plus, I just don't like 49ers anyway.
Yeah. I mean, for me, looking at it, he's currently is the wide receiver 4.5 point. He's only scored 4 touchdowns, which was spread between 3 games. But the least amount of targets he's had in a game was 8, and that was week 2. And since then, he's had 9+. And looking at the upcoming schedule for the 49ers, they have the Rams, Jacksonville, Minnesota, Seattle, Cincinnati, Atlanta, Tennessee, and Houston. And I'm not scared of any of those secondaries. The Rams have a pretty good secondary, but I don't think Jalen's going to – I don't think he can cover after the catch what Deebo can do. So I'm not really worried about that matchup. And the rest of them I'm not really worried about. They've been giving up points to the wide receiver position. I'm comfortable giving up significant capital as long as you're not overpaying for the wide receiver 4. If you can get him for low-end wide receiver 1 value or even high-end wide receiver 2, that's definitely something I'm really looking into. But let's go over to Will's next guy, who's also a guy I'm not necessarily thinking that, he's been performing amazingly all season. But I still think there might be an opportunity. The hype has kind of died down a little bit from where it was. We're going to talk about Najee Harris.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm picking him. I think there's a window here to get him. I think week 3, 4, 5, it would have cost you too much. Mm-hmm. I think people could be a little nervous. And if you had like Dalvin Cook or you had even Kamara, honestly, I would be thinking about flipping them. Because I'm just not sure. I'm not sure about Dalvin's value the rest of the season with the Vikings. I'm not sure about Kamara, foot injury. He
hasn't practiced all week.
He hasn't practiced all week. Quarterback situation is completely unsettled. Mm-hmm. So if you can get him now, because I think Mike Tomlin's gonna use Najee until he can't run. So as far as touches and points. Yeah, I would actually think about and Zach, don't kill me for saying this. I would actually even contemplate McCaffrey for him, just for this, not in a keeper league, but for the remainder of the season. I'm just not sure about what the top 3 running backs that we all thought everybody had, right? It was McCaffrey, it was Cook, and it was
Henry.
Oh, and we'll see Henry's out, right?
Yeah.
So the top 4 running backs are iffy. So, Najee, hey, at least he's consistent.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't trade McCaffrey for him. I think with Cam coming back, Cam learned how to use the checkdowns better in New England. We saw James White get really involved in the passing game when Cam was starting. And Christian McCaffrey's 1,000 times better than James White. So I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be the number 1 running back rest of season if he can stay healthy. But that's another question with Christian McCaffrey, which might actually make me trade him for Najee if that was a possibility. We're going to talk about Jeff's next guy, though, A.J. Brown, Titans wide receiver. Why are you trading for A.J. Brown right now, Jeff?
Because the running game, as we just saw, we don't know what Adrian Peterson is yet. So we are going to see, I believe, targets continue to rise from Tannehill to A.J. Brown. I also think the offensive coordinator is going to find different ways to use him as well. Like I said, this is, matter of fact, dependent on what happens with the running game. Peterson's only been in for 1 game. Mm-hmm. I don't know how he scored a touchdown, but he did. But there's a huge void to be filled, as far as they have to change up their whole offense. So I think Tannehill is going to start throwing the ball more. And I don't necessarily think it's going to lead to an increased target share for Julio Jones. I just think he's going to be going to A.J. Brown a little bit more often.
Yeah, so my take on the A.J. Brown situation right now is I think it's kind of team dependent because the Titans are a team that hasn't been on bye yet, and I think that's something you kind of have to look at when you're looking to make trades before the deadline because obviously it's kind of hard to do things after the deadline. You can't make any big splashes. So if you're a team that's in contending position, I would trade and A.J. Brown's on a team where guys are kind of, need to win every week type situation. If you were in that situation, I would look at trading A.J. Brown and make sure when you're talking to the guy you're trying to trade with, start up a conversation. Like, A.J. Brown still has to go on bye. He's got to play some tougher matchups, New England, Pittsburgh, San Francisco. I'm willing to give you guys past his bye who can contribute to your to your lineup every week. So that's kind of the situation where I think you might be able to get A.J. Brown, but he did have a down week as well last week with Derrick Henry, so maybe people are starting to worry about that. So yeah, I think that's definitely a good situation. And then your next guy, who you were talking about buying, is one of my sell candidates.
Oh.
So I'll let you start off talking about James Conner here, and then we'll let Will chime in, and he can be the deciding factor after we talk about this.
I think what a lot of people forgot about with James Conner that he just showed in the last game is that he is a good receiving running back. And, with Edmonds having an issue with that ankle, man, I think he's going to be another one of those guys who's going to get carries and he's going to get targets. And he was explosive, man, last week, albeit it was against, the Niners, who everybody thought their defense was going to be a little bit better than what it was. But, man, it just showed that he still has the power to be used at the goal line. But now they're going to be finding ways for him, especially Kyler's back, as a dump-off point. I just think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be heavily utilized now that Edmonds could be out for another 1 or 2 weeks. But I think he might be in there making a case for getting more time on the field. So
yeah,
that's why I'm targeting him.
So for me, I'm actually looking to sell because I don't think there's ever a time where his value is going to be as high coming off the 36-point week where he's been a touchdown monster. So one thing I'm looking at is their bye is week 12. So you got 2 weeks out of him and then a bye week. So Chase Edmonds probably coming back after that bye week. And that's really when the season starts to matter, is once you get to that playoffs. Obviously, he has had value when Chase Edmonds has been in the game because he's been the goal line back for a really good offense. So I'm looking to trade him if you can capitalize on the big week and the belief that Edmonds isn't going to be there. That's where I stand with James Conner. I'm not just trading him away for peanuts. I'm trading him away for value if he's on my team. And I would trade him to a guy like Jeff who knows he's going to do good for the next few weeks, and then see where you end up. Because I think if you keep him, he'll do good for you. He plays Carolina this week, so even if he is the number one running back, Carolina's defense has been really good. Shaq Thompson has been back. He's been good. And I think they're going to be really motivated with Cam or not. Even if Cam's just on the sideline, I think that brings a big jolt to the team. So I'm not sure. Even if he played 77% of the snaps last week, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up similar numbers with Benjamin taking the rest of the carries. But we'll see how it goes. Will, what are your thoughts? If you have him, are you looking to sell? Are you looking to buy?
I'm probably looking to sell because the way their bye breaks out, I think Edmonds will be back for that Bears game in 4 weeks. And then, honestly, I think Edmonds just fits the offense a little better when they go into those games down the end against the Rams and the Lions and the Colts and the Cowboys. I just think he'll just be a fit. I don't dislike him, but I just think you were ever going to trade someone where you could get value and you're not really losing much, because unless Edmonds' injury gets worse and it's season ending, the reality is you're going to get 2 to 3 weeks out of him. Even if he becomes the number one running back, Edmonds still going to, even if Edmonds over this next couple of weeks gets made the number 2, Edmonds is still going to get 40-45% of the snaps at running back.
And he's going to see a lot of the targets, which is what. Like, as good as James Conner is,
yeah,
catching the ball, Chase Edmonds, to me, is still tiers above that.
But let me just say, too, if you're tight right now, you're middle in the pack of your league, and you can, the next couple of weeks are going to make or break if you're in the playoffs, it's not a bad thing to pick him up right now because he could give you those extra points the next couple of weeks to put you in playoff contention.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a guy that had somebody like Derrick Henry. You just lost him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. Like I said, I'm not trying to sell him low or anything. I'm trying to capitalize on the value, especially if you're like already in your top 1 or 2 seed. If you can flip him for a guy who's been down a little bit, like if you can flip Connor a piece for A.J. Brown, something like that, I think that's something you should definitely look into. But let's move on to one of Jeff's sells, I guess, not really selling high, but DJ Moore. And I think one thing, just not talking about this, I think it's important to remember that with trade deadlines coming up, if you don't sell now, you're not going to have the opportunity to sell later on in the season. You can't wait anymore and try and sell high in a few weeks because that's not going to work when the trade deadline has passed. So with that being said, let's have Jeff lead into his DJ Moore sell.
Right. And not that I think that he's not going to do well with Cam. It's just I think you could probably flip him to a little bit either a stronger to position yourself for a better running back somewhere or possibly someone who may just get some more targets. Because I do think that Cam is going to look more at, like you were saying, basically some dump-offs to McCaffrey. They might even still run Chuba Hubbard in there. Maybe even, what is the name? Tommy Tremble, the tight end?
Yeah, Tommy Tremble.
That's who Cam looks for normally in that Carolina offense. So that's what I'm starting to wonder if that's going to, just bring down DJ Moore's targets a little bit. So I'm thinking, hey, he still has a pedigree. He's been balling out earlier this year. You might be able to go ahead and get somebody that thinks the opposite, thinking that it's an upgrade at the quarterback position. Maybe Cam is going to get him the ball a little bit more. I'm just saying I would probably try to finesse him into getting more of a safer wide receiver or some running back help.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I still think DJ Moore's ability after the catch will be important for fantasy. But Robbie Anderson is still there as well, and Sam Darnold struggled to get him the ball. But who knows what Cam's going to be able to do. If his shoulder's actually healthy, Robbie will be able to get deep. So we'll see how that all works out there. Any thoughts on the DJ Moore situation? Because to me, as a Panthers fan, I think there's still too many mouths to feed outside of Christian McCaffrey. I think it's going to be inconsistencies throughout. But what are your thoughts, Will?
I think every Panther is going to be a hot commodity now. Just before it, because everybody's going to say, well, Cam, and rightfully so, right? If it's Cam Newton, who we know Cam Newton to be, everybody's stock just went up. So if you see somebody buried on somebody's roster, I'm sure people are going to be approaching about trades. And if you're ever going to trade a Panther, now's the time to do it. This is before Sunday. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah. I think you probably trade him after Sunday because I don't think Cam plays this week. So I think the hype will continue to grow, especially if P.J. Walker has another down week.
Yeah.
Let's move on to I know you were big on P.J. Walker, but I never really saw him turning into anything there. Yeah. So let's talk about the only quarterback that anyone's bringing up on this show besides Cam Newton. Patrick Mahomes is Will's sell. Let's let you break that down there.
If I can get value for him right now, depending on who my number 2 quarterback is, I'm moving him because him sitting on my bench, I'm not if I have a top 15 quarterback in him, let's say you had him and Russell for some reason, and now Russ is coming off IR, I'm moving Mahomes because him sitting on my bench isn't going to do any good. And something's not right with Mahomes on those long balls, man. Either defenses have really adjusted, but he's just not He's just not hitting them. And if the long ball's gone, that's a problem. Because I don't know if you guys watched that game last week.
Mm-hmm.
He was missing sure first downs to go deep. He's pressing that long ball. He's trying to get that long ball back. And it just doesn't look right? Maybe it's just the law of averages, the catching up, all those couple of years of hitting those deep passes to Tyreek. It just doesn't feel right. It feels like he's pressing, feels like he's not taking what's there. I mean, there's no way that game should have been as close last week watching that game. Honestly, Mahomes is leaving points on the board for his team, and more importantly, he's leaving points out there for fantasy players. And it's just not his year. So if you can get somebody to take him and you can get a RB2 or a wide receiver 2, yeah, I'm probably
I think
in the trade right now.
I think there is a market for him because I think some people think he will bounce back going down the stretch. For me, my take on the Chiefs' offense right now is I think defenses are saying we're going to play too deep and we're going to give you the underneath. But Patrick Mahomes hasn't shown me that he can be patient enough to do that consistently. As you said, he looks like he's trying to force the ball downfield. And if they continue to do that, they're going to continue to struggle.
Yeah.
I think they lose again this weekend to the Raiders. Similar fact where I think Patrick Mahomes tries to do a little bit too much. And from everything I've seen from Derek Carr is going to take exactly what's there. He's not going to try and force it to anyone. Hunter Renfrow is great at getting open. And they added Deshaun Jackson. He might even catch a burner against that secondary. If the Chiefs, for whatever reason, Daniel Sorensen ends up anywhere near Deshaun Jackson, that's going for a touchdown. Plus, Darren Waller's still there. And the pass rush for the Raiders has been really good as well. And getting pressure on Mahomes has startled him so far this season because he's trying to force that deep ball. And when you're off balance, it's really hard to throw an accurate deep ball, especially when you're already trying to force it. So if you can trade away Patrick Mahomes and get good value, as you said, for sure. But yeah, I'm all for it. Are you against trading Patrick Mahomes, Jeff, or are you same boat? If you can get the value, go for it.
I think you can get. I think you're still able to get a lot for Patrick Mahomes, and I think this would be a good time because it's clear now that there is something wrong. Kelsey hasn't been looking that great. There's something wrong with that offense.
So when we're talking about Kelsey here, hold on. So I think Kelsey's another you buy low candidate. He's still a tight end one. While we're on the topic of Kelsey, sorry to interrupt you, Jeff.
All right.
But Travis Kelsey has still been the tight end one, even with the offense that's struggling. So if you look at the Travis Kelsey and you look at the Travis Kelsey owner, and you think you might be able to make a play for him, upgrade that tight end position, which if the offense picks back up, he's going to do even better and separate himself even more from the rest of the tight ends in the field. And if it stays the same, he's still going to be the tight end one. So you can capitalize on people downgrading the Chiefs' offense with really not. But anyways, continue on back on with what you were saying with the offense not looking good.
No, and that's the issue. One, they still have no real running game. And I think defenses are like, we're going to key on Tyreek Hill, we're going to key on Kelsey, and make you beat us by running the ball. And they haven't been able to do that. They do not have a dominant running back right now. So, they haven't had one in a while. I don't think CEH is dominant. So,
yeah, we'll see. He's going to come back this week or next week. So we'll see if Andy Reid takes a look at the offense and goes, okay, we need to get him the ball, take the pressure off Patrick Mahomes, which could help them in the long run. We'll see what they do, though, because earlier on in the season they weren't running him as hard as they should.
But Patrick Mahomes will bring in, you can probably still get a really good quarterback that's probably matching him or even surpassing him right now in points and possibly something else. You can get a quarterback possibly in maybe a wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 2. So you can actually build up your lineup by getting rid of him. So.
And let's transition to my trade away players. I'm going 2 players. I put them pretty much in the same category: Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Antonio Brown is coming back. Obviously, they're still both going to have good weeks, but they're both going to have bad weeks. Mike Evans has been known to put up a couple 0-point games throughout his career, and when you're trying to make a playoff push, that's definitely something that can derail your team, especially as we get into the playoffs. And Antonio Brown's going to come back. Gronkowski's also going to come back, which takes away some of the red zone work for both of them. And Antonio Brown has proven to be Tom Brady's favorite target, and he's looked like the regular AB when he's been playing. Whether or not he plays this week, that's still in question. He's out of the walking boot now. I'm sure we'll get more as the week progresses, as we get into Saturday and Sunday. But if you can capitalize on Godwin's back-to-back big weeks, or even Mike Evans, who's been pretty good in the absence of AB, that's definitely something I'm looking at, because I don't feel comfortable starting both of them. I didn't draft any Tampa Bay wide receivers other than Antonio Brown because of the value that I thought was there. But, yeah, I'm not comfortable starting them because I know any given week they might put up 2 to 3 points, which could, derail your week, cost you a fantasy football championship. Yeah. You guys feel the same way about both of them? You think when AB comes back, they're going to continue to see the ball a little more because they've been on the field, or what's your take on that?
That's the thing. With me, at least, I've never been able to bring myself to draft a Chris Godwin or a Mike Evans early, because you never know what you're going to get. You might get 3 touchdowns one game. You might get 2 targets the next. So I'm looking for guys that are consistently getting targets. So, I would definitely be looking to sell on those guys. And you are right. I think Tom definitely looks for AB. He definitely looks for Gronk. If those 2 are taken away, then that's when he's going to go to a Mike Evans. So
yeah, he's smart. He's not going
I like to be the first option. I like to have the first option on my team.
Yeah, he's smart. He's not going to force the ball to anyone just because he wants to. He's going to go for the open guy and whoever can get open. I think defenses still treat Mike Evans as the number 1. And I think that's why AB has been doing so good when he's been playing, because defenses can't treat him as the number 1 in that offense. You feel the same way, Will? You think that AB is going to continue to lead the team in targets, or?
Yeah, actually, I would probably move Evans before I move Godwin, because I think Godwin's one of the guys that, as the defenses decide who they're trying to take away, about the 3rd quarter is when Brady's kind of like, okay, they're taking wide receiver 1, tight end out of my pass equation, and the one thing that makes Brady great is he works his reads, right? And if 1 and 2 is gone, honestly, the 3rd read I think the read he gets to where he has the best matchup and is further through the route by the time he gets to it is Godwin. And so if I had to choose, if I had them both, I don't know why I would have both, but if I had both, I would probably try to move Evans before moving Godwin, because I just think Godwin's a guy that probably gets 5 catches for sure a game and probably a touchdown opportunity, just because the way the defenses are playing the Packers.
And another thing to note when looking at these guys, Mike Evans in particular, so week 14, which should be the week before you play in your playoffs, hopefully, they play Buffalo, which has Tre'Davious White will be lined up against Mike Evans. And then they play the Saints, who always line up Marshawn Lattimore across Mike Evans. And Mike Evans is known to struggle. A couple of his 0-point games have been against Marshawn Lattimore. And then they play Carolina, who's going to throw Stephon Gilmore on Mike Evans. So that's going to be another game where Mike Evans is going to struggle. And then they play the Jets, who have really done a good job against the pass. An underrated job against the pass so far this year. So those are 4 really bad matchups stemming from the game before the playoffs start into the championship week. So maybe that's a negative for all of them. The Saints game should be good for everyone else other than Mike Evans. But I think that's definitely another situation to monitor there as well with the bad matchups. If you can sell to someone who's not going to quite look at that before they make the deal, I'd definitely do that. Let's talk about Jeff's next guy here. We got the running back for the Washington football team, Antonio Gibson. And I think for me, just following, I think he falls under the same category as DJ Moore, where I think they both could do really well near the end of the season. But the trade deadline is coming up, and you can't make trades after the trade deadline, so you have to move them now in case they lose their value even more. But with that being said, let's get into it, Jeff.
Just like I thought, and I thought that at the beginning of the season, he has normally had lower leg issues, whether it be shin or toe. And it's always opened the door for McKissick. And now, even during the preseason, when I saw that kid Patterson playing, I was like, sooner or later, Ron Rivera is going to start getting that guy into this rotation. He is now in the rotation. People are starting to think, well, after the bye week, maybe Gibson will come back fully healed. Even if he comes back fully healed, now there's two other mouths to feed out of that backfield. McKissick is always there. Now Patterson, I believe, is going to be an issue as well. He's just too injury prone. I love his upside, but the upside is taken away when you start adding in a basically running back by committee, which is now what they have become.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I actually traded for Gibson in one of my leagues because I was able to buy low and give up a wide receiver 3 in exchange for Gibson because that Gibson owner had him for most of the season. So they were literally just looking to get rid of him. So maybe if you don't have Gibson, if you have Gibson, I would look to sell him and try and get the best value you can. But if you don't have Gibson, look and see, and maybe you can get him for a steal where it doesn't cost you anything. And if he does turn up for the second half of the season, if you really aren't giving much up for him, he's got the upside. So if you don't have him, look at him, maybe take a second look, and decide what you do, because I think there is gold to be had there, but there's also a chance where, he doesn't turn into anything. He gets 5 to 15 points a week. You feel the same way, Will? You're like kind of hesitant. You're trying to get rid of him.
I'm not high on Washington's roster right now at all. And then you start injecting competition into a roster.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'll take James Robinson in Jacksonville because that's it. That's all they got. They're going to run him. If he stays healthy, you're getting your points. Washington, I don't know who's playing what anymore.
No, but yeah, I think you look to get rid of Gibson if he's on your team, and if he's not on your team, take a second look at where he is. Take a look at your team, and if you think you have the depth to spare, where you can hold him on your bench for a week or two, in the hopes that he turns into, he could be a he could be a running back 1 for sure rest of season if they actually use him, and he can stay healthy. But let's move on to Will's last sell player. This guy is the guy I think is mostly affected by the Odell situation. And I agree with this sell high for sure.
I put that in before they signed OBJ.
Yeah.
And Woods, look, you're absolutely right, Zach. Woods is the one that loses here.
Yeah, and Van Jefferson, but
if anyone's gonna, if you're playing Van Jefferson, you were reaching for your third wide receiver. It was a bye week plug-in, okay? And you hope he got a touchdown and 3 receptions, right? But I feel bad for Woods because he's gonna lose receptions over this, right? And you just kind of got the feel that the first week OBJ really plays, teams may not respect, let's see what he really is. Let's see if him and Stafford can really hit it off and all that. All it's going to take is OBJ to have one game. And Woods honestly, Woods might be the 4th option on the team now. He might really be the 4th option on the team. And that's scary. And I have Woods on a couple of my rosters. And he's been giving me some great points lately, but he's been inconsistent.
And I think going forward with Odell, he's going to be even more inconsistent. I know we're recording this on Thursday night. It's not going to be posted until Friday night. But I don't know if you guys just got the alerts that Tua is going to be coming into the game for the Dolphins because Jacoby Brissett hurt his knee. And Tua is the backup even though he's not healthy. And somehow the Dolphins are beating the Ravens. So off topic, but there's that. Do you have any thoughts on Bobby Trees And the whole Rams. Let's just analyze the Rams wide receivers right now with the addition of Odell Beckham. Are you worried about Cooper Kupp at all?
No.
I was worried about Cooper Kupp last week. Honestly, like, you know, I think at some point you got to accept. I think teams were hesitant. I'll be honest with you. I think everybody thought, okay, how long is this Cooper Kupp thing going to go? And then finally people said, nah, you're not going to beat us with Cooper Kupp. Right?
He still had a season-high 13 targets last week.
I know, but it still didn't look right. The game just didn't look. You know, let me say, as an NFC North guy, a Viking guy, we're all waiting for the Stafford we know to appear. All the talent in the world, but then just doesn't. There's those games that just doesn't work, and you know, so Rams are making me a little nervous, and I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure this was actually a good signing for the Rams, because I think, you know, there's some strong personalities now a little bit on that team to me, and you know, I don't know. I'm not sure. Just because you add somebody doesn't mean you're going to win. Sometimes it creates problems because who gets the ball now, right?
See,
and honestly, now the Rams are a throw team now.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, 69% of the time they're throwing the ball as opposed to 31 run.
I bet you this could get into 75.
Yeah, I think it could get up there, but for me, I think Odell picking the Rams shows to me he values winning more than he values targets. And so I was talking about this earlier on one of the lives I was on. Yeah. Odell has had the highest percentage of his targets. His 33% were uncatchable, and I think that's really what was getting to him in Cleveland. He might have been getting the targets, but when a third of them you can't catch, I think that's really his problem. So he's going to see more valuable targets in LA. He's going to score more touchdowns than he had the opportunity to do in Cleveland because they were a run-first team. So I don't think Odell is going to have.
But let's think about this. This is the same team that just let Deshaun Jackson go. I'm not saying Deshaun Jackson today is the same as Odell today.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason Deshaun wanted out was he wasn't getting the ball enough. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, at some point you got to have to take more plays away from the running game, and that's for fantasy that's a problem, right? There's a lot of ripples here. It may hit. They may become so dangerous that you can't cover them, and they're going to just run up score 60 points a game. I don't know, but I think there's about a 25-30% chance this could backfire on the Rams because I don't know what's your identity now.
Matthew Stafford is their identity. I think the offense runs through.
And every Lion fan just screamed.
Yeah, I think the offense runs through him, and I think he's going to distribute the ball. You can't cover these wide receivers. I kind of think it's like the Tampa Bay situation where an older quarterback with three really good wide receivers, Tyler Higbee can be compared to Gronk with a running game that has a decent running back, but it's not really their strong suit. And I kind of see their offense running as similar to that, where all the wide receivers get involved. I think Kupp's still going to be the one. I don't think this affects his value at all. It makes it harder for defenses to double cover him. Mm-hmm. But he was beating double coverages anyways, so it doesn't really affect his value. I think he still sees the targets. I think Bobby Trees loses some targets, and I think Van Jefferson loses some targets. I'm not expecting Odell to be a double-digit target guy. I'm expecting that 6 to 7 targets a game, but they're going to be valuable targets. He's going to be open for those targets. Matthew Stafford's not going to go, Odell is completely smothered, let me throw it to him. It's going to be, Odell is sitting in his zone. He's wide open. Odell beat one-on-one coverage. He's wide open. Fantasy-wise, I'm not excited about it, but for the Rams, I think it will work out well, and I think they have the locker room. Even though they have the personalities have been okay since being in LA. Jalen Ramsey's been okay since being there. I think him and Odell is going to be hilarious to have on a team together. I think their biggest problem is going to be the two of them in practice. So we'll see how that works out because both of them are known for having problems in practice, and they can both get chippy and mouthy. What do you think, Jeff?
here's the thing. I'm thinking as long as the Rams are winning, this tells me two things. As long as the Rams are winning, Odell will be fine. But this signing proves to me that Odell knows he's not a number one receiver anymore. Yeah. He is, like you said, Zach, he's more interested, I believe, now in winning. And I think he's joining this team understanding that he will get targets. He's probably got to upgrade at quarterback. He will get targets, but it's more because things are going to be spread out now with Kupp, with Woods, with Higbee. Now there's more chances for him to have one-on-one coverages or be open. So those are the things, just like you said, for fantasy, I'm not excited at all.
No.
Now,
if he's on your waiver wire, like, give him a look. If you have the empty bench spot, pick him up because, the upside's there. But
exactly. If anything, this helps, I think, McVay. Honestly, when we see McVay at, when he seems like he has things going, that's his plan. But when defenses start to do certain things that he didn't plan for, that's when he panics and he's in trouble. I'm starting to notice that about him. That's what happened in the Super Bowl. That's what happened last week. It's like, oh, my God, I didn't think they were going to do this. Yeah. Now what do I do?
Well, since we're talking about the Rams, too, and not just fantasy football, let's also think about what the Rams have done in the last year. If anyone doesn't believe the Rams aren't all in for just this season, and ownership is not in just for this season, it makes me wonder what's really going on with that lawsuit in St. Louis. The Rams ownership is nervous about being on the financial hook, as they promised the owners they would take the blunt of any court loss. That story came out this week. They gave $100 million. He offered $100 million cash to St. Louis to settle it, and St. Louis said no. Oh my God! So I'm starting to wonder. It's almost like an owner who knows he's not going to be owner much longer. He doesn't care about first round picks. The organization doesn't care about 3 seasons from now.
I think
they are all in for this year, and that's really, from a football, not fantasy, but from a football perspective, in a business side of football, this whole franchise is playing like this is the last season they'll be where they are with an NFL franchise. And
I think with the money he put into that stadium, though, I can't see him selling the team.
If he wins the Super Bowl, if he was going to sell, win the Super Bowl in LA as the LA Rams winning in their stadium in the LA market, he can probably get 4 times what he paid for the team.
What he paid for the team, but I don't think he's going to get the $5 billion stadium. I can't see him getting enough money, and he is a business guy first. So I think for him, he's investing the money into the team. They're trying to win now for sure. With trading away the picks and everything. They still do have a few picks in this draft. They're later round guys. I think they still had like 8 picks or something after trading away.
Yeah, but they don't have first round picks for the next 3 years.
But I don't think that matters. If you can keep everyone, they've proven they can work around the salary cap. If you can get another 2-3 years out of Stafford, keeping the wide receiver core together, and the defense is already locked down, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, so they're not going anywhere. So for me, I think they will be competitive for the next few years as long as Stafford stays healthy, and I don't think those picks are going to be the late 20s, early 30s range for the next few years, and we've seen the Seahawks who can't do anything with picks like that anyways, so not trying to take shots at you, Jeff, but
this isn't the NBA. You can't just go into free agency and sign 3 stars and bring a championship to your team. This is still, you need 22 guys. This is the ultimate team sport, and that's what makes football so great. Yeah, they're stars, but if you have, you don't.
Yeah, but they have the stars already, so they can build around the stars with getting some decent guys for cheaper in free agency because they want to win the championship, and because they still have 8 picks in the draft. And they've been good at getting guys later in the draft, so if they can get some role pieces later in the draft, I think that's what people are still forgetting about. So I'm confident. We'll see. Do you want any last-minute remarks here, Jeff? I know you've been sitting back and watching Will and I go at it.
Well, I'm watching you guys go at it, and then, like I said, although this is going to be airing tomorrow, I'm watching how horrible Tua was playing as well. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. But anyway,
Yeah.
it you know nothing really ever comes good out of teams trying to drag every open star to their roster. It just has never worked lately, at least for the NFL especially.
Only for the Bucs.
Only for the Bucs. Then you're right. I forgot.
They can bring in everyone and it's going to work perfect.
Only for the Bucs, exactly. But for everybody else, it has not. So I'm waiting to see what happens with the Rams. But, it's interesting. I do think there were better places, better situations that Odell could have gone to. Hell, honestly, I was wondering a team like the 49ers with Deebo. I was like, that would have been a great place for him to become a wide receiver 2. Possibly still could have become the wide receiver 1. I was shocked that the Rams, but that was a signal to me that the Rams are still searching for something. For them to go ahead, you just signed Von Miller because the defense that you thought was going to be a number 1 defense is not performing up to par. Now the offense, it just sputtered this last week against the Titans. Now it's like, okay, he's open or he's available. Let's go ahead and get him to see what he can do. So to me, it's spelling some red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm not even sure if the Rams win the division this year. I have them projected to be the 5th seed or like the 1st seed. So it's interesting the way that's going to break down because if the Cardinals continue to play well and Kyler Murray does come back, they're going to be a really hard team to beat. But if the Rams offense works really well with Odell and Vaughn really makes that impact on the defense, which we know he can, when it comes down to will it be the Cardinals or will it be the Rams? One of the teams is going to be the 1 or 2 seed, and the other team is going to be the 5 seed, which makes a big difference when it comes time for playoffs. And then the Seahawks will be fighting for that 6 or 7 seed.
Exactly. And honestly, I'm looking at the Cardinals just honestly because now I believe, and I've said a lot of bad things that I have to take back about Cliff Kingsbury, but I think he's a better offensive mind than both Shanahan and McVay at this point in time. Because that offense, no matter who is in there, you got Colt McCoy back there looking like freaking Joe Montana. And I was like, this guy is just dialed in. He knows what his offense, how it needs to go. And he's just got the right personnel finally. And the defense is still playing as well. So to me, they're just probably just an all-around team right now. And as a Seahawks fan, I'm just, seeing the right.
Hoping for the 7th seed at this point?
What's that?
Hoping for the 7th seed at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think off the fantasy football topic, when you're looking at the NFC, because I think the NFC is going to be really interesting, because I think seeds 1 through 5 are pretty much locked up, depending on the seeding, might change, whatever. But when you get to that 6th and 7th seed, I don't think there's 7 teams in the NFC that deserve to make the playoffs. But it's going to be between the Saints, the Falcons, the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Seahawks, really.
Right.
For those 2 spots, in my opinion. I don't think the Eagles can do anything, even though they have some good matchups. I think it's going to be between those 5 teams, which I don't think really any of them deserve to make the playoffs at this point. But someone's going to have to make the push.
Yep.
I think with
what it is. Somebody's gonna
Cam Newton, Cam Newton, the Panthers have a good chance, and I think Russell Wilson's going to get hot. So those are my 2 picks. We have 3 of the teams supported here, so I'm going Panthers, Seahawks. Just to finish off the show, Jeff, what are you going for those last 2 wildcard seeds?
I would say because of the quarterback issues with New Orleans, I would be comfortable saying Seahawks, Panthers as well. That defense with the Panthers, you can't deny it. And honestly, the Seahawks defense is starting to get a little bit better. The secondary is it's a little bit better than what it was at the beginning of the season. So we'll see.
All right, let's jump to our Vikings fan to finish off the show. Will he pick the
I
Vikings?
forgot about the
No,
Vikings.
no. 6th seed is Atlanta. 7th seed is Seattle.
You think Atlanta's going to pull through?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Atlanta's starting to click, man. And
Yeah, I think their
we're talking
defense
the
still
6th and
cost them
7th
some
seed.
games.
We're talking the 6th and 7th seed. If I was Atlanta, I'm in the playoffs. If the playoffs start today, they're the 7th seed.
Yeah.
The Saints probably gonna if Kamara is hurt, it's over.
Yeah.
You're done.
If Kamara's hurt, they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Panthers have one of the hardest schedules going for us, so I think that doesn't help them.
And look, Carolina and Seattle have a problem. They both lost to Minnesota. So the tiebreaker, they have to win out. And I don't think Minnesota. I think Minnesota finishes 7-10, maybe 8-9. That's not the 7th seed. The 7th seed is probably 9-8, if not 10.
I think 9-8 will be the 7th seed, just above 500, and I think the Panthers can get there. I think all 5 teams could reasonably get there. But it's going to be tough for all of them, especially the Seahawks, who are right now only got the 3 wins.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I want to thank you guys for joining the show again, and I want to thank everyone for watching. Make sure you guys tune in next week. You can follow me on Instagram, Pro Football Craze. You can follow the media at Media MPC. The new version of the app will be dropping soon, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We will be posting updates about it on my page as well as the media page. But yeah, thanks for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you tune in next week.
Thanks, Zach.
All right, guys. Thank you to our veterans.
Yes.
Yeah, happy Veterans Day.